Good afternoon to our viewers in Asia and hello to others watching from around the world. Welcome to Arirang News. The much anticipated 2018 PyeongChang Winter Olympics is now just a day away and the Olympic spirit is reaching its peak here in South Korea. But what's unusual about this year's Olympics is that politics and diplomacy are garnering more attention than winter sports with North Korea's Olympics participation. Adding to that is the large-scale military parade held by North Korea this morning on the eve of the Winter Games. Today, we sit down with an expert to discuss the Olympics and beyond. But first, we connect with our Devin Whiting at the News Center for the top stories at this hour. Devin?
Hi, Don. Well, the military parade you referred to, North Korea decided to go through with it this morning at 10 a.m. North Korea time. That's 10:30 here at Kim Il-sung Square in Pyongyang. Now, it's not clear how big the parade was, how many troops were involved, or which weapons the regime brought out, since it wasn't broadcast. But in recent days, there were reports that almost 50,000 people, plus tanks, artillery, and jets, were practicing for the ceremony, which would include an air show. There was speculation that the parade would be massive because this year is also the 70th anniversary of the regime's founding. Then again, North Korea knows it's being watched closely right now, and there's a different atmosphere because of the Olympics. The occasion for the parade was to be the anniversary of North Korea founding its military, which it moved from April 25th to February 8th. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un's younger sister, Kim Yo-jong, will be flying to South Korea as part of a 23-member high-level delegation that'll be attending the PyeongChang Winter Olympics opening ceremony. Kim Yo-jong is due to arrive on Friday at 1:30 p.m. at South Korea's Incheon International Airport on a private jet. Kim Jong-un's influential sister and 3 other top government officials will disembark, and then the plane will return to Pyongyang. It'll come back the evening of February 11th to take Kim and her senior delegation back home. Kim Yo-jong will be the first immediate family member of the Kim dynasty to set foot on South Korean soil. Now, the opening ceremony of the PyeongChang Winter Olympics is less than 36 hours away. The host city and the sub-host city of Gangneung are bustling with athletes from around the world ready to give their best possible performances on ice or snow. Even though the opening ceremony is still a day and a half away, a number of sporting disciplines have already started their qualification rounds. For more, let's connect to our Ji-won, who's standing by at the Gangneung Curling Center. Ji-won, so most of us were expecting the sporting action to start this weekend, but we've got a head start.
Hi, Devin. The first actual competition at the 2018 PyeongChang Winter Olympics started this morning with 4 round-robin preliminary rounds of the mixed doubles curling. Now, over the next 4 days, 8 countries will compete to qualify for the medal round. South Korea grabbed its first win this morning against Finland, along with the U.S., Norway, and Switzerland. But mixed doubles in curling is new at the Olympics this year, so we're still unsure who's likely to be standing on the medal podium in the coming days. The next rounds will take place at 8 in the evening, with Team Korea taking on China. There's also ski jumping starting tonight, with qualification for the men's individual normal hill being held at the Alpensia Ski Jumping Center in Pyeongchang.
Okay, sounds like some exciting stuff lined up for the first day. Well, here in Seoul, we've been seeing some freezing temperatures, and you were saying earlier that it's actually worse for you guys in the mountains. But despite the cold, can you feel a buzz around town?
Yes, Devin. It was freezing cold earlier this week, but starting yesterday, the temperature has improved a lot. It now stands at around 3 degrees Celsius here in Gangneung. And despite today being a weekday, a lot of people came to watch the games and cheer for their teams. I was able to talk to some of the spectators here. Let's have a look.
Curling isn't a game you see often, so I thought it'd be a great chance to watch it in person. Also, it's the first event of the long-awaited PyeongChang Olympics. Watching it was thrilling, and it made me feel that the Olympics have really started.
It was really cool to watch the athletes compete. We were really happy that we won the first match. I don't know much about curling, but it was really intense and the atmosphere was really great, so I had a lot of fun.
The excitement is expected to build throughout the day as there will be various performances and events held later or even as we speak, including the Olympic torch relay. The torch has been visiting and will continue to visit different parts of Gangneung and the city's major tourist attractions like Gyeongpo Beach before it finally heads to Pyeongchang and the Olympic Plaza for Friday's opening ceremony. That's all from me for now. Back to you, Devin.
All right, thanks, G1, and make sure to stay warm out there. In other news, South Korean President Moon Jae-in is in a flurry of pre-Olympics diplomacy. He's already hosted meetings today with high-ranking foreign guests at the Blue House and has a couple more to go. Our Cheonghwa-dae correspondent Hwang Ho-jun has the details.
Just the day before the opening of the long-awaited Pyeongchang Winter Olympics, President Moon's schedule is jam-packed. But his afternoon schedule attracted the most attention. He met with Han Jung, a member of the Politburo Standing Committee of the Communist Party of China, in the afternoon. Han is the 7th highest official in the party and is visiting South Korea as a special envoy for Chinese President Xi Jinping. President Moon's meeting with Han Jung will be followed by a summit meeting with Polish President Andrzej Duda. And starting at 4:30 p.m., President Moon will meet and dine with U.S. Vice President Mike Pence and his wife. The vice president is leading the U.S. presidential delegation to the Olympics. Earlier in the day, President Moon met with his Swiss counterpart Alain Berset and discussed how the two countries can work together to make sure the Pyeongchang Winter Olympics will contribute to peace on the peninsula and in the world, as well as to boost their bilateral relations for cooperation in areas such as basic science and medicine. The South Korean leader also held talks with German President Frank-Walter Steinmeier over ways to end North Korea's nuclear ambitions in a peaceful manner before having an official luncheon. President Moon, highlighting the expectations that the, quote, Peace Olympics could improve inter-Korean relations, said that the circumstances of the Olympics made the German president's visit even more significant as he is the head of a nation that overcame division peacefully. This was the two presidents' second meeting since they first met in Berlin during President Moon's visit to Germany for the G20 summit. Hwang Ho-jun, Arirang News.
Trading was stopped temporarily today on Korea's junior stock index, the KOSDAQ, after it jumped more than 4%. The Korea Exchange said that as of around 2:44 p.m., the KOSDAQ 150 had jumped 6%, and March futures on the KOSDAQ 150 had jumped 3%. The so-called sidecar system automatically suspends trading for 5 minutes in case of a sudden big fluctuation. And this was the second time the sidecar had been activated this year after a jump in the KOSDAQ last month. After peaking today at a high of 867, the KOSDAQ closed at just under 862 for a gain of 3.9%. I'm Devin Whiting, and those are your news headlines for this hour.
As the world gets ready to celebrate a festival of peace and sport tomorrow in South Korea, it appears North Korea forged ahead a military parade this morning like many had anticipated. With North Korea remaining rather quiet about it, unlike in the past, the scale of the parade and showcased weapons are still under the wraps. Here's Arirang's Defense Ministry correspondent, Oh Jung-hee.
A day before the Winter Olympics begin in South Korea, North Korea went ahead with a military parade to celebrate its official Military Foundation Day. South Korean government sources say Pyongyang held its military parade at 10 a.m. North Korea time at Kim Il-sung Square. But the North did not broadcast the parade live, so there are no details about its size or which weapons were revealed. The military parade comes after North Korea announced last month that it designated February 8th as the official founding day of its Korean People's Army, moving the date from April 25th. Reports say that through this Wednesday, the North had almost 50,000 people, several jets plus artillery and tanks, practicing for the ceremony and an air show. The South Korean military had also detected mobile launchers and missiles. Thursday's military parade is the first of its kind since Pyongyang declared early this year that it had completed nuclear weapons program. Speculation arose that the parade could be massive in scale, since the regime is also celebrating 70th anniversary of its establishment this year. But it might also have been smaller than expected since the regime is paying attention to the international community's response and the Olympics atmosphere. Pyongyang had invited foreign press to cover the parade, but that was later canceled. 오정희, Arirang News.
And for a more in-depth discussion on North Korea's Olympics participation and more, we're joined by Shin Sang-hyuk, Professor of Pan-Pacific International Studies at Kyunghee University. Good to see you again, Professor Shin.
Great to be here today.
So a large-scale military parade on the eve of the Pyeongchang Winter Olympics hosted by South Korea. Why, after making efforts to show the world that it's a peace-loving country, by voluntarily participating in the Olympics?
Right. Well, we can interpret the meaning of the military parade in North Korea in several ways. Firstly, we can understand that the reason why they had the military parade is to send a message to USA and Japan and other countries that they did not give up their nuclear and missile programs. About this one, the Prime Minister Abe, after the meeting with the Vice President of the United States, Mr. Pence, he said that this is the proof showing that North Korea has still provocative measures. Provocative measures, North Korea is still alive. So certainly this is the main reason why North Korea had a military parade in such a kind of the thawing environment between the South and North Korea.
So they're trying to send its own message. Now, we're short of information about the parade, and we're still unable to verify what kind of military hardware were showcased. But could you tell us what kind of weaponry were likely presented and why?
Well, there are many so-called possible scenarios about the items of the arsenals, which were, during the military parade. Experts thought that ICBM could be showed during the parade because the ICBM could be the direct threat to the USA security along with the nuclear programs. But this time, I think North Korea seems to reduce the tension which could happen because of the military parade this time. They did not want to stimulate the USA or Japan too much because they need a time to complete their program. Definitely. So I think they do not want to use this opportunity to stimulate the USA and Japan, even though, as I already explained, they try to send a message. They still have the programs, nuclear and missile programs. So it has two phases. One is hot, very threatening message to North, USA and Japan and other countries. The message is that they just try to show some intention to control the speed and the speed of the development program for nuclear weapons and the missiles, which could be the direct threats to USA and other countries.
So North Korea is sending a message to the U.S., but it's also trying not to be too provocative.
Too much, yes.
Now, President Moon Jae-in has said that he will take this opportunity to build up inter-Korean talks and ultimately aim to denuclearize North Korea. But even though you said North Korea is trying not to be too provocative, a military parade on the eve of Olympics, it doesn't look so promising. It appears as though North Korea has no intention whatsoever to abandon its nuclear ambitions. Your thoughts?
Well, we have to wait and see, but North Korea has used every opportunity to make it clear about their stance about the nuclear programs and missile programs. Personally, I think that it is very difficult for us to expect the abandonment of the nuclear and the missile programs of North Korean government. And the one thing which I want to underline is that the USA government stance and policy toward North Korea. As we heard many times, USA government, particularly President Trump, has emphasized that without denuclearization of North Korea, there will be no peace talks. Those kind of American government stance toward North Korean nuclear and missile programs. Vice President Pence also said that without the nuclear denuclearization, there will be no peace talks. And at the meeting with Shinzo Abe, Prime Minister of Japan, he emphasized that he reaffirmed, along with Japanese government, their commitment to the policy of maximizing the pressure against North Korea through every possible measures. So it seems to be very contradictory. In between these two very different stance, I mean, between North Korea and USA and other countries, we have to find a way how to take a mediating role between two parties. Of course, the South Korean government has also emphasized the eventual goal of the peace talk with the USA, I mean North Korea, is the denuclearization of North Korea. But as we discussed already several times, there must be some slight differences in the stance between South Korean government and the USA and Japan.
Like you've mentioned, U.S. Vice President Mike Pence during his visit into Tokyo. From the statements made by Mr. Pence and Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, we could see that, as you said, they reiterated their hardline North Korea policy. But were they also sending a message to South Korea?
Yes, somebody says that he just tried to, send a warning to South Korean government because they thought that South Korean government has conducted some progress, the dialogue on our own way. And as I said before, there must be some slight differences between USA government and the South Korean government stance on this issue. So the USA government, through every ways, they want to emphasize that denuclearization is the first. So we can say that the Vice President Mike Pence tried to send such a kind of the message to South Korean government. And South Korean government has understood very well, though. But this is our own program, firstly. Of course, this can be an issue for every countries in the world because the UN has been deeply involved in dealing with the nuclear crisis, North Korean nuclear crisis. But definitely South Korean government should have to make every effort to persuade the USA and Japan in order to have a very efficient policy toward North Korea.
Now, U.S. Vice President Mike Pence has arrived here in South Korea today, and he's scheduled to hold one-on-one with President Moon Jae-in. What topics do you think will likely take center stage?
Well, just after the meeting with Prime Minister of Japan, Mr. Abe, the USA government official came to visit to Japan along with the Vice President, the Pence. The highlight of this trip is security, not economic issues. So at the meeting with the President Moon Jae-in, they will spend lots of time to discuss about security issues. North Korea's nuclear and the missile programs. Of course, if time is available, they will discuss about the Korea-USA FTA. But definitely, I think the first priority will be given on the security issues at the meeting between President Moon Jae-in and Vice President Mike Pence.
Now, North Korea surprised many around the world on Wednesday by announcing that its leader Kim Jong-un's influential sister Kim Yo-jong will make her way to South Korea for the Games. Now, as far as I know, she'll be the first member of the Kim family to ever visit South Korea, so the significance speaks for itself. But could you tell us more about who she is and the implications to her visit?
Yes, the father of Kim Jong-un was Kim Jong-il, right? Kim Jong-il had 4 wives. And then the Kim Jong-un is the offspring with his 3rd wife. And then with the Madame Ko, the wife of the Kim Jong-un, there were 2 sons and 1 girl. The first boy is the Kim Jong-chol. Actually, he is the person who did not have any interest in politics.
Right.
he loved music and rock and roll music or something like that. And Kim Jong-un is second son, actually. As you know very well, he is the leader of North Korea at the moment. By the way, and Kim Jong-un and Kim Yo-jong, they attended to the elementary school in Switzerland together. And they are very close. It is reported that. And then she has taken various positions in the Communist Party in North Korea, but very rapidly she got promotion. And then it was reported that she is very close. That means that he is very influential to the Kim Jong-un. So her visit to South Korea, of course, for the participation in the Pyeongchang Winter Olympic Games, maybe it is quite significant. Actually, we can understand that is a kind of the gesture to promote the friendship image to the global community. As you know very well, North Korea has been criticized by many countries because of their nuclear and missile programs. So to change those kind of image, Kim Yo-jong decided to, Kim Jong-un and Kim Yo-jong decided to participate in Pyeongchang Olympic Games. If I added something more, many leaders, political leaders, have used their family members. This time, the Ivanka, the daughter of the president of the United States, Mr. Trump, she is scheduled to participate in the closing ceremony. And then in this context, Kim Yo-jong is scheduled to participate in the opening ceremony. So, many political leaders have used their family members to build, change the image of their country or to give the very friendship image to other countries.
Kim Yo-jong is due to arrive in Seoul on Friday, so we'll be able to see reports pouring in about that. Now, one last question for you. Do you think there is already a gulf between Seoul and Washington? Because Seoul is getting quite flexible with the sanctions imposed on North Korea, and reports say that the United Nations is also reviewing to give an exemption to one of the North Korean delegation who will visit South Korea for the Olympics. Do you think?
Yes, there must be some uncomfortableness between two countries, and even North Korea just tried to divide South Korea from the United States. But I think we don't have to worry too much because both countries, Korea and USA, recognize the importance of the unity between two countries. Even between wives and husbands, there have been some up and downs, you know what I mean? I want to understand the current relations between two governments in this way. But one thing is clear. We cannot sit in idle. We have to keep on persuading the USA government, and USA government just try to also persuading their policy to South Korea. We have to open the channel with the USA government. That it will be very important, and I think that is a kind of some stepping stone for the future relations between USA and Korea, I think.
Just one more question for you. Do you think President Moon Jae-in can be successful in playing the mediator during the Olympics between North Korea and the U.S.?
Our Vice President Mike Pence and then the Secretary of State, they did not rule out the possibility of the meetings during with the North Korean leaders during the Pyeongchang Olympic Games. So I think there must be some possibility that Mr. President, Moon Jae-in, can play some mediating role. But I think not. It cannot be very easy though, because that considering the stance which have been announced by both governments, USA government and North Korean government many times, there must be very, very big differences. Such as, say again, the USA government suggests that the denuclearization of North Korea is a kind of prerequisite condition for the peaceful talk. And the North Korea said that we will never ever give up our missile and the nuclear program. So the gaps are so big. So considering these are the reality facing us,
Right.
well, it could be quite difficult for us to expect some dramatic change in the relations between two countries. That means that the role of the President Moon Jae-in this time could be quite limited, I think.
Tough challenges ahead.
Yes.
Thank you, Professor Shin, for your expertise today.
Yes, my pleasure.
And that brings us to the end of our show. Stay with us for more news updates throughout the day. From all of us here at Arirang, thank you for watching.
In a village called Pyeongchang, there will be the biggest and the most wonderful